a few minutes late. I'm just going to pull up our questions. Happy New Year. Liz, I just got your email, so I will answer it right when we're done. And I want to show you something very exciting. I am very tired because I spent most of the past week finishing the new edition, Foolproof French Visas, and it looks very nice. Let me pull it up to show you, and then we'll dig into your questions. All right, I think this is the Amazon. I have like 72 files with final version 1, Amazon PDF final version 17, and it is 532 pages long. It is twice as long as the previous version. We added a lot of information, more information on the visa types. These are the changes that we made. I had my wonderful team member, Kim, who was reading this as she was on her plane and in the airport traveling back to France from the US. We added 5 new visa types, which we hadn't really talked about before. We added information about new procedures that had been developed since last year. A lot of things that went online and are now completely processed online. We added a whole section of useful links. So at the end, we have now 2 appendices with, this is not the final version, I guess, because it's cut off on the side. One with useful links, common terms, acronyms, and initialisms, and an appendix with prefecture and OFI offices by department. The actual version is not cut off like this. I just opened up the wrong file. So that is now available on Amazon. And I'm going to be posting the link and hopefully doing a small video about it later. And I thought it would be a very quick formatting job. And I was up till 2 in the morning. So on our first day back to school, which was not really back to school. So yeah. All right. So if you guys have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to pull up a couple of questions that were pre-submitted. And we don't have that many. I think people were not really worried about French visas during the holidays, which they should not be anyway. So Catherine asks, can you confirm if proof of socioeconomic situation is required for a 12-month visitor visa? My visa application is stated under the purpose of stay. I won't have money coming in during that time, but have over $100,000 in my bank account. Yes, absolutely. So what they're looking for in the visitor visa application for your proof of financing is, one option is if you can show that you're retired. If you're receiving a retirement pension, they want like an income statement from the pension. They want proof of income from, like, if you have a rental property or passive income sources, dividends, investment accounts, like that are retirement accounts and things like that. All of that stuff can be used if you're actually retired. If you're not actually retired, then they will be looking at what you have in cash. And what they're looking for is around around 1,200 euros net in income. 1,500 to 1,600 is what a person earning minimum wage working in France would earn at a minimum. And so the minimum wage person would have about 1,200 per month after taxes. And that's the required financial cash amount that you have to have for a visitor visa. And so the second question was, should I address that in the cover letter? And yeah, normally what I advise is, in the cover letter, I want to come to France, hang out, like visit a vineyard, try all the different wines that I could possibly try in 365 days. During this time, I will not be working. I understand that it is a condition of my visa not to work or seek employment in France. And I will be financing the trip by this person received a cash settlement from severance from her job that she left. So yeah, here you will find attached like proof of sufficient financial resources. I'm going to not be working for a year and considering my career options for when I return to my home country. So very simple, show that you understand that you're not going to be working and that you can support yourself, and that'll be totally fine. All right, and this is Allison's question, and I see that you're here and you are in Toulouse. I'm hoping we're going to be able to come and visit Toulouse and to visit Airbus specifically during the February vacation. So hopefully there won't be restrictions. Please advise on choosing healthcare insurance for visitors to France. Good sources of information, plans that can be arranged for a year, but canceled during the year. It is possible that I would have French health insurance during the year. Okay, so you can, if you are on a long stay visitor visa, you can get on the French healthcare system after 3 months in France. You can start registering. It takes a little bit longer than 3 months to actually get a proof of coverage. They will backdate your proof of coverage to the 3 months or to the date that they received your application. And you can request for reimbursement and stuff starting from that point. Now, the minimum insurance policy for the visitor visa application is a 30,000 euro policy, valid in the entire European Union with no deductible, and includes repatriation insurance. Those are the 4 criteria that they will look at. And so even if you have private health coverage like in your home country that will cover you abroad, usually it doesn't meet those 4 criteria, either because there's a deductible or because they don't include the repatriation. So normally the policy that we recommend, and I will give you a link to this in the chat, is from a company called Monde. And this is an affiliate link that I'll be giving you. But the reason I picked it, or the reason that we refer people to them, is because it's the best price that we found that has a program, a policy that covers all 4 of those things. It's a French company. It's based just outside of Paris. So one of the reasons their premiums are not as expensive is because they're based on like French healthcare prices, which are not anywhere near as expensive as US prices. So your policy does not have to cover you in the US. Normally, if you're under 65-ish, the policy will be between like 350 and 500 euros per year, depending. There's no like health test or anything like that in order to get covered like there can be with regular insurance policies. The one disadvantage is you have to pay for the entire thing up front. So even if you cancel it partway through the year, it's not gonna matter. You're not gonna get reimbursed. But most of the policies, like I've had clients pick other policies like Cigna and April and a couple of the other ones, and usually it's about $200 to $300 per month. So even though they could cancel those after a couple of months, they didn't necessarily get a financial benefit. It still would be cheaper to go with the 1-year policy. So that's the one that I recommend to all of my clients. Feel free to get a quote from it, get quotes from other ones. April is a common one. You want to make sure that whatever policy you get is specifically for a long stay visa, because there's 2 different types of travel insurance. One is that it's called long stay visa insurance, and that is for 1 trip up to 365 days. And that will be valid for getting a long stay visa. If you register for it's called like Schengen visa insurance or something like that, Schengen travel insurance, the policy can cover you for 1 year, but it only covers individual trips up to 90 days. So it's not going to be valid for the whole duration of your stay, and the consulate won't accept it. I hope that answered your question. Other Allison. Okay, Allison's second question. Are tourist visas still being issued to Americans given that the US State Department considers France a level 4? Do not go there. Okay, so the thing that you need to know about STEP is that they're very dramatic. Yeah, so first of all, like American foreign policy and travel warning has no bearing on whether or not a country is issuing visas. So France absolutely still has all visa categories open. It is still open. France is still open to the US for travel. The US has moved to the red list for France. So what that means right now is that unvaccinated travelers have to have an imperative reason to travel. They have to quarantine for a certain number of days. I forget what it is off the top of my head. The quarantine is going to be enforced theoretically by law enforcement coming to visit you and making sure that you're isolating. A certain number of tests after arrival, a test before departure. They're being very strict on the imperative motive idea. If you're vaccinated, however, you need to have your proof of vaccination. Right now, that is still only 2 vaccines until January 15th, and then it may become 3. And a negative test 48 hours before departure. Now, my understanding is that it's very complicated to get a testing site that will guarantee test results within 48 hours. So that might be the biggest hurdle to traveling to France. I'm assuming you're talking about a long stay visitor visa, because Americans don't need tourist visas to come to France. A tourist visa is a short stay visa that it could be valid for a year, but it's for people who have to apply for a visa in order to just take a vacation in France. So yeah, all visa types are still being issued in the US. And I don't really expect that to change at this point. Does anybody else have any questions for me? Those were the only 3 that got submitted ahead of time. Anybody want to tell me what the most exciting thing is going to be that you do in 2022? I'm sorry. I was up until 2 in the morning. I thought the formatting for Amazon was not going to take very long. And it took quite a long time. Unfortunately, fortunately for sleeping, I guess, my son's teacher was absent today. So I didn't have to wake up early to bring him to school. By early, I mean, 7:30, 8. So that was an advantage. I suspect we're going to have a lot of school closures in the next 6 months. All right, well, if nobody else has any questions, then I will let you guys go, but I really appreciate you coming. I found Mondasure in France. Is that the recommended site? Yes. Yeah, it's the link that, oh, I'm sorry, it didn't send out to everybody. It just put in the chat, but didn't actually go to all of you. There's a travel form for motif impérieux. Someone asked Andrea asked in the chat, unvaccinated US citizens have to have a motif impérieux. Yeah, there's a form and it has the motif impérieux listed. I don't remember what they are off the top of my head, but things like starting an academic program, starting a job, basically having something in France that required your physical presence in France, or having some kind of like family emergency, were the things that were counted. Let me look up and see. This is the attestation de déplacement. You don't have to, as far as I know, you don't have to seek approval from the embassy ahead of time. I don't think they're having anything to do with that. It's something that you fill out in advance. It's a form that you fill out and bring to the airline. So, I mean, the risk that you run is the airline might not know what to do with you. And I would arrive at the airport early and armed with the list. I don't know from, of people who have traveled unvaccinated to France since it started becoming a thing. I know like most of the people that I've heard from, like their travel documents weren't even checked in the US now. So I don't know if airlines are going to become more strict. I know that people who have been arriving, have not systematically had their papers checked, but I really can't answer COVID questions. I'm not a COVID expert, and I'm not really following the travel rules anymore because I'm not going anywhere. So, all right. Well, I think if there aren't any more questions, then I will let you guys go. And the next call, okay, one more, Allison, go for it. I'm not trying to rush you. I just wasn't sure if there were any more. I don't want to keep you either if there aren't any. All right, go for it. the travel insurance, if you have to get the insurance is valid for the complete 1 year, and it is valid. It's not travel insurance. It's catastrophic health and repatriation insurance. So it's valid for the whole year. Doesn't matter how many times you go in and out. It doesn't matter how many days you spend in and out of France. The thing is, like, a travel insurance policy is for vacation, and it can only be a trip up to 90 days. And usually they have all kinds of extras, like they'll cover lost luggage or flight delays, or I don't know, an apocalypse of cockroaches in your hotel room or whatever. But those travel insurances are for vacation, not for a visa appointment, a visa application. The long stay visa insurance is valid for the full 365 days, assuming that you can spend, more than 90 days at a time and all of that. Yeah, I'm not sure what the current, so you don't have to, you do not currently have to submit any proof of vaccination with a visa application. Now, the visa application itself, or the visa itself, is not going to be sufficient for a motif impérieux. But having the visa plus having the form of the motif impérieux, such as like a starting, an academic program that's starting, or a job that's starting, or whatever, can allow you to enter France. There are a lot of countries right now that are on the red list, or that have previously been on the red list, like India, a lot of African countries, things like that, where students were not, or like people were coming for student visas and they hadn't, like, they literally don't have vaccines in that country yet. So they were unvaccinated because there just were no vaccines to be had. And so they were able to, there's actually I learned this when I was updating foolproof French visas last week, is now students can register for French healthcare sometimes even before they arrive in France, because registering will allow them to get a vaccination appointment as soon as they arrive, if they want to. And so that's one of the, so I think for certain things, like the fact that, there are unvaccinated people traveling to France for very specific reasons, including studies, including jobs. It's not normally, because of your situations like yours, but they're not going to discriminate for that at the border. I don't think, like where you're coming from, as long as the motif impérieux is valid. All right. Anything else? Yeah. Thank you, Allison, for clarifying that. All right. Thanks. The next call is going to be, let me take a look at the calendar because I don't know off the top of my head. Will be the first Monday in February, which will be February 7th. So I will possibly see you then, and definitely check out Foolproof French Visas. If you have already bought the previous edition, if you bought it through our website, then I just uploaded the new edition today, so you should have access to that. If you bought it through Amazon or through something, if you don't have access to it, you can send us an email with a review. We'll give you access to the PDF download. There's a PDF and a MOBI file and EPUB file for Kindles and e-readers. So, all right. Thanks. And yeah, hopefully it won't be school closure from home month. All right. Take care. Bye.